Fast. Hi. Good afternoon. This is the House Judiciary Committee. We have a short voting list. We're going to have voting again tomorrow, certainly next week. We have several bills here on the docket. I'm going to start with Senate Bill 148, which is a bill that we are secondary on from appropriations. Senate Bill 148 addresses some issues related to the victim services funding, if I'm not mistaken. We passed a House bill on this. I believe the amendments to Senate Bill 148 would conform it to it conforms it to the House bill as it left the House, correct? So if you like the House bill as it left the House, then you'll like what we're going to the amendments to Senate Bill 148. Does everybody get that? We're on Senate Bill 148. So what we're doing is we're conforming it, we're changing it into the version that the House passed. So we're changing it into the House version of the bill. There's a motion to, well, we need to take the amendment. Can I get a motion on the amendment and a second? All right, so we're on the amendment. Any discussion about conforming it back to what we passed unanimously? All in favor of the amendment, raise your hands. Anybody opposed? The amendment's adopted. We're on the bill as amended. This motion for a favorable. Is there a second? And a second. All right. On the bill as amended, any further discussion? All right. Delegate Munoz? Yes. Crutchfield? Yes. Cardin? Yes. Bartlett? Yes. Embry? Yes. Pasteur? Yes. Tolles? Yes. Schmidt? He's excused. Simmons? Yes. Boucher? Yes. Phillips? Yes. Tomlinson? Yes. Erican? Yes. Taylor? Yes. Simpson? Yes. Grammer? Yes. Young? Yes. Valentine? Yes. Conaway? Yes. Kaufman? Yes. Williams? And she is also excused. So that one is ready to travel. Let's go to Senate Bill 211. This bill is the cross-file in the same posture. We heard it today of the House bill on making changes to probation before judgment. There are no amendments. There's a motion for a favorable. Is there a second? And a second. All right, so we're on the bill. Again, this is the cross-filed bill from what passed the House Bill 193. Any questions? All right. Seeing none. Delegate Munoz? Yes. Crutchfield? Yes. Cardin? Yes. Bartlett? Yes. Embry? Yes. Pasteur? Yes. Tolles? Yes. Schmidt is excused. Simmons? Yes. Boucher? Yes. Phillips? Yes. Tomlinson? Yes. Erican? No. Taylor? Yes. Simpson? Yes. Grammer? No. Young? Yes. Valentine? No. Conaway? Yes. Kaufman? Yes. Williams? He's excused. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Somebody's got to hold down that end of the horseshoe right now, I guess. I don't know what's going on. All right, so the motion is adopted. We're now on task force bill. This is Senate Bill 797. It's a task force on countering elder abuse. We passed Delegate oh, she is snapping her fingers at me. I am sorry. This was Delegate Pasteur's bill. We passed her task force bill. So this is the cross-file of that. I believe the cross-file went out with everybody on board. There's a motion for a favorable. Is there a second? And a second. All right. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none. Delegate Munoz? Crutchfield? Cardin? Bartlett? Embry? Pasteur? Okay. Tolles? Yes, everybody's snapping. Simmons? Boucher? Oui. Phillips? Tomlinson? Yes. Erican? Yes. Taylor? Yes. Simpson? Yes. Grammer? Yes. Young? Yes. Valentine? Yes. Conaway? Yes. Kaufman? Motion's adopted. Okay, the last one we're going to do today is a bill for which we are secondary. It's House Bill 2. Wait, are there two? Oh, I forgot to do one. So we have a withdrawn bill, House Bill 136. There's a motion for an unfavorable on the unfavorable withdrawn and a second. Anyone with, well, okay. All in favor of the unfavorable withdrawn, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. House Bill 136 is withdrawn. We did that.
Oh, we just did. But we had to conform it. They're different.
They're different?
I thought you did crime classifications.
No,
Yeah, we were going to do 2 and 9.
that's a whole.
All right.
797, the only problem is that it's slightly different, so we need to conform it to the House, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay, so we're going to have to do something. We have to go backwards. Senate Bill 797. Could I have a, would you recommit? Would you, all right, well, we'll not to recommit to committee, but would you move it to reconsider the vote? All right, we're reconsidering it. Right. All in favor of the do I have a second? Second. Could I have a motion? The motion is to reconsider the vote by which, please, 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 I need to reconsider the vote by which 797 passed the committee just now, because there is an amendment. All in favor of that, raise your hands. Let's just do that. Any opposed of reconsidering? She just left her hand up. All right, so we're back on Senate Bill 797 because there's an amendment.
It's just to conform it to the House bill.
It conforms the Senate bill to the House bill. There's a motion to accept the amendment and a second. All in favor of the amendment, raise your hands. All right, anybody opposed to that? No, it conforms it to the House bill. We're on the House bill as amended. Could I have a motion? Motion for a favorable and a second. All right. And so if no one objects, I'll take the same vote that we took on 797 as to be the vote, the same vote that we took prior to the reconsideration would be the vote that we cast again now. Is that okay with everybody? Yes. All right. Thank you. Without objection. So fine. Delegate Pasteur.
Senate bill had the amendments before I did.
So the Senate, so again, Lauren can talk a little bit more about it.
There are just 2 members of the task force that were not in the Senate version for some reason, the State Police and the Maryland Healthcare Commission. They are on your bill, but not the Senate bill at the end of the day. The rest of the members that you added are the same. But
So
they
it's,
did not take those 2 extra members, because I think you did it in 2 separate amendments, and they only did 1.
so it takes the 2 people that you had in your bill that they did not have in theirs, and it adds your 2 people to their bill.
If I got it from them. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to just say okay because I actually got what I put in mind from them.
I understand. I think that there may have been a mistake in how it left the Senate, and so now,
Oh, okay, because they just,
State Police or the Healthcare Commission, they picked up the other members that were added, but
not
not the.
those 2. So there must have
and
been
I
a,
put them in mind.
so the worst that will happen is that they will just fail to concur in our amendment.
No, Shelley already
and we'll
said
figure it out.
It's fine, and it's fine with me.
All right. So now that concludes our tortured history on Senate Bill 797. So now we're secondary on House Bill 208. This has to do with exhibition driving. And we are second to the Environment and Transportation Committee on this. Who wants to give a description as to, can you give a description as to what the bill does?
Okay, sure.
Claire is going to give us a description as to what the bill does.
So the bill increases penalties and points assessments for violations related to participation in racing or speed contests. It also establishes a statewide prohibition on exhibition driving on any highway or private property that is used for driving by the general public. The bill also authorizes a police officer to order the towing and impounding of a vehicle that is driven in a race or speed contest or is the subject of an exhibition driving violation. And the other committee made a few amendments. They altered the definition of exhibition driving to specify that it has to be in close proximity to a crowd or gathering and in a manner that intentionally results in two or more of the criteria that were listed in the bill as introduced. And then it also, on criteria 7, they changed that to the transportation of a passenger on the hood or roof of a vehicle.
Mr. Chair, can I ask the council a question, please?
Yes, Delegate Kaufman.
Yes, Claire, and I know we're trying to move quickly, so I'll try and make this quickly, but is exhibition driving a synonym for drag racing? I'm trying to figure out what Delegate Lehman was after.
Well, there's another prohibition relating to racing. Exhibition driving is like doing donuts and, swerving or just kind of doing tricks with your car, not necessarily racing another car.
So tricks, okay.
Mr. Chair,
Delegate Cardin,
I
then
think,
Delegate Taylor.
I think it would be fair to say that exhibition driving could be a subset. Drag racing could be a subset of exhibition driving. Exhibition driving need only be one car, but it could be more than one car. It need not be competition between two cars, but it could be. So,
Delegate Taylor, then Delegate Conaway.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
Valentine.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really look at all the criteria here, but in my neighborhood, folks regularly at night come in and do donuts in the cul-de-sac. Would that be considered against the law, or how is it handled now?
Well, with the amendments, when they were doing the donuts, it was in close proximity to a crowd or gathering. So if there was nobody else in the cul-de-sac, it might not meet the definition.
But if there's people in the cul-de-sac, well, there's nobody out there with them, but because it's one.
Yeah,
at 2
there
o'clock
has
in
to
the
be a
morning.
crowd or gathering.
There has to be other people.
Thank you.
Delegate, I'm going to do Valentine and then Conaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify on the Exhibit 1 of the fiscal note. Is this now, am I reading this properly, that under current law, it's a prepayable fine, and now it carries a possibility of incarceration? So will this now turn into a must-appear offense in some of these? I'm looking at the exhibit, and that's how I would interpret that.
It would carry a 60-day offense, as I read it, a 60-day penalty unless it resulted in serious bodily injury, in which case it would result in a penalty of up to a year, $1,000 fine.
Shifting it from a prepayable to a must-appear.
Shifting it from a prepayable to a payable fine, or to a must-appear, sorry, to a must-appear.
Thank you.
Delegate Conaway, then Delegate Erican, then over here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, if this is changing this to a 60-day possible penalty, and going off of what Delegate Cardin said, a person could be, I guess, drag racing by themselves. It's possible that you could get a drag racing charge, I guess, 60-day charge for checking the performance of your vehicle, I guess you could call it.
Well, it's current law that a person may not drive a vehicle in a race or speed contest, whether or not on a wager or for a prize or reward. So if you're just driving by yourself, I don't think that would
Delegate
qualify.
Cardin said it could possibly, the way he was looking at, right? No? You said that you were looking at it, it could be one car right? And that brought-
Exhibition driving,
Exhibition driving,
which is new.
and then you said.
But there's nothing stopping exhibition driving from being more than one car.
What about the drag racing?
I'm not an expert on drag racing,
'Cause you
but I
said it
would
was a
think
sub-
that
you
drag
thought it
racing
was a
is
subset.
is a competition between more than one car.
No, you could actually drag race.
Against the clock?
Against the clock, light to light, exactly.
So if there's Claire, wouldn't it be true that if there was a crowd outside and this person was racing against the clock in a way that would be considered, and put those people in potential harm, that would be considered exhibition driving?
If it meets the 2 or more of the criteria, of the 7 criteria listed in the bill, yes.
So if they're going 100 miles an hour and there's a crowd there and there's spin marks on the ground and it's loud, whatever the other criteria, then if he's drag racing himself.
Suppose that there's no crowd. If you're waiting for the light to turn green, you know where the quarter mile is. The light turns green. You punch it like if you're on Wabash at Northern Parkway. You make the run down to the end, and then you know roughly what you run in,
I know
12s, 11s, 10s, or whatever, and you're gonna hook your nitrous up. You know what nitrous is?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I mean, I think that
No.
Claire would agree that would not be considered exhibition driving because there's no crowd.
But drag racing.
It could be regular, yeah, but that's already in the law.
Could that be drag racing?
Right.
I don't know that if you were just by yourself and you were just trying to beat your own personal record, then I don't know that would be considered a race or speed contest. It would be a question of fact.
Okay, thank you.
This is going to be great. Delegate Erican?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I got an email from Ocean City, and they're not happy with some of the amendments because they think it's going to make it harder for them to prosecute the dangerous things that are happening on their coastal highway. So I'm not sure, they already have a law in place, and they think this law will eclipse their law in some way, so they won't be able to stop. I'm sure we all saw some of those clips from a couple years ago where there was like really, truly dangerous activities going on, but no crowds of people and on a highway. So like they kind of blocked the highway off for the exhibitionists. So but the letter I have is from yesterday. It says that they aren't comfortable with the amendments. So I don't know if this is ready for prime time, if the main place where this seems to be happening isn't pleased with the outcome.
It happens a lot in Ocean City. I would say it happens a lot in a lot of places. It happens in my district on Key Highway and a couple other parts in my district. It happens, and as Delegate Conaway was reciting, I do believe it happens on Northern Parkway. I believe it happens in a couple parts of Northwest Baltimore and a couple parts of all over the place. And
Yeah,
I think that's why they've
favorite
come.
road.
That's what, right, and that's why they've come back with this sort of statewide solution to the bill. I will say this, Delegate Love did come and speak to subcommittee chairs about it. I wouldn't mind having her come back again, maybe to talk again, but let's keep taking some questions. Delegate Phillips, Delegate Boucher.
So we've had this issue in our district as well. And I want to make sure people really kind of understand, this is a statewide issue. This past Saturday, if I could give a little bit of history to why this is now like urgent. This past Saturday, it touched just about the entire state, starting in Prince George's County, making its way through Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, and maybe even Baltimore City. And Mr. Chair, you may have seen some of this correspondence that's hit. We're talking about rings of fire, donuts, racing, stunts. All of those things took place in a matter of about 6 hours with a group that was very organized, that came out of Richmond, Virginia, came to Maryland, and actually almost timed. They spend 30 minutes in one place, the police move them, 30 minutes in the next place, the police move them, 30 minutes in the next place, ending up at Security Mall, right? All kinds of tricks, and finally ending up in Owings Mills, where at that point they were doing their racing. This has gotten to be really, really serious. And so I think the idea, I'm very supportive of it, because I think the idea of increasing the fines, but particularly the piece that I think will get some response from the folks that are doing this, is the ability to tow these vehicles, to seize and to tow the vehicles. So, my comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. There's an element in this bill that I think is even more important than the drag racing aspect of it, and that's it restricts the transportation of a passenger on or in an area of the motor vehicle that is not designed or intended for passenger transport, such as the hood or roof. And a lot of teenagers are doing this, and it can lead to fatal injuries. You see a lot of kids on top of the vehicles. So if police officers see this being done, they can enforce this law on that and restrict that behavior. So besides the drag racing, it has some other very important elements in this bill, and I like that element in it.
A question to make sure I understand. If it's impounded, are they able to get it back if they pay the fine? Is it subject to forfeiture? What's the impact of the impoundment?
I don't know.
I don't think that this allows for the car to be forfeited. I think it allows for the car to be impounded, and then they could get it back after a period of time consistent with the rules on impoundment. But if you'd like to get more information about that, no, seriously, I mean, look, this is a little bit uncharted waters for us because it crosses over, it drag races between the jurisdiction of our committee and ENT a little bit. It goes back and forth a little, mainly because there's a jailable component here. So I want to make sure that people are comfortable in getting it right. I think that's an important question because, again, I don't think the intent is to have these cars forfeited. I think that, but I will say that part of what I think they learned in Ocean City was that the risk of impoundment was a pretty powerful deterrent for the car owners, and it helped knock some of the problems down that they had there. But that's another thing.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
Sorry, just a follow-up. I just want to make sure I'm clear. My understanding is that dirt bikes, at least under Baltimore City law, are by definition not motor vehicles because they're not registerable.
Right.
So this would not apply to
This doesn't apply to dirt bikes.
Thank you.
Delegate Conaway, then Valentine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for letting me get the second one. My first question was, what was the definition, or how was seize going to be used in reference to this bill? I mean, would they just take your vehicle, or are they potentially going to take your vehicle and maybe write inspections, tickets, and that type of thing? And I was wondering how many points is associated, how many MVA points are associated with this?
What?
Is it 12?
Points? Is it
12
For
points?
the exhibition driving?
For exhibition driving?
Well, 8 points unless it results in serious bodily injury.
And then it would be
12.
Then it'd be 12. 8's still enough to suspend the driver. 12 is all the bells and whistles, is driver improvement course and everything else. So yes, 8 would be enough to suspend, I think.
I thought it was 12.
It's 12. Well, in either case, their driving license would be impaired.
For
because
what?
it would
3
get,
years?
I think it depends on how they have to take the driver improvement course. This is more of an ENT question than it is an us question. So the driver improvement course is part of it, but there's a suspension that goes along with it. We can get an answer to
Would that be
question.
automatic?
If it's 8 points, yeah, upon conviction.
In other words, let's say if
Not on the day that it happens, but on conviction. That you don't get the points until you're convicted.
right, so you would have to appear,
Yeah,
and then the judge says, "I find you guilty."
yeah,
And
8 points.
and then you got your 8 points.
right. If it wasn't a PBJ,
Right. Okay.
because PBJ you wouldn't get any points.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Delegate Valentine, then Young, and I think that there are some important questions that are coming out of this. So I'm going to be asking, I think, ENT to come and talk to us a little bit more about this. But go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question pertains to the Ocean City component, and my question is, while I'm familiar with the incidents that have occurred in Ocean City, as we all are from the news, I'm not familiar with the actual statute that's cited that the delegate talked about. Is that in the transportation article currently?
It's in the bill.
It is.
The bill repeals that.
So that's what my question was. I didn't know if it was something specific to Ocean City and they could still do their enforcement. This will repeal that and be replaced by this bill.
And it creates a statewide standard as opposed to having the one jurisdiction. Now, I mean, look, we were part of this in the last term, part of giving them, effectively allowing them to create this crime because of the severe problems that they were having on a couple weekends. I don't want to minimize it by saying a couple weekends. It was significant.
Yes.
It was hugely disruptive to the people in Ocean City. And now I think what we're seeing is it's everywhere else. And so the feeling is, since it's starting to show up in places all over the place, we need to have sort of one standard for it and then go from there. Yeah, that's the argument behind the bill.
Thank you.
Delegate Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council, can you remind us, or can you repeat again, you said that they had an amendment that made it so that way it had to be 2 of the criteria?
Yes.
So I look at page 5 of the bill. It looks like, and thank you, Delegate Simpson, for kind of helping me see this. It looks like we're moving those definitions up in the statute, rather in the code, and then we're adding this criteria. So is my understanding correct?
Yeah, it's taking that out of the Worcester County only section and then rewriting it in so that it's applicable to the state, to the whole state.
But which is what they just talked about, but with the added piece now. So
Yes, and then the amendments change what, the bill is introduced, just took the language from Worcester County, made it that same language apply to the whole state, and now the amendments are changing that to, as you said, say that you have to have at least 2 of the criteria, and there has to be a crowd, it has to be in close proximity to a crowd or gathering.
Understood. Thank you. That's what I wanted to be clear on. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to hold on to this because it's something that's impacting everybody. It's impacting across the state. We want to get it right. And Delegate Love is subcommittee chair in Environment and Transportation. She has just started a subcommittee meeting there. I asked if she could come over. She can't make it over. I don't want to hold everybody up just for her schedule at the moment. But we're going to ask her to join us for the next voting session just to come and talk about some of what E&T talked about when they did the bill, and they can also address some more of those questions. We're going to have voting session tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly when, but we will vote again tomorrow. Significant chance that we'll be voting on Monday morning, probably at around noon, I'll say. Significant chance of that. And it's likely that on Monday we're going to go to the floor a little bit earlier than 8 o'clock. So I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be either, but stay tuned. We'll have more about that shortly. With that, thank you very much. This has been a voting session of the House Judiciary Committee. We will see you tomorrow.